I'm here with Senator Orrin Hatch, Republican from Utah. Senator, thank you so much for joining us on Capitol Hot Sheet.
Well, I'm really happy to be with you.
You are the ranking Republican on the Senate Finance Committee, so I want to ask you first about the economy. The Fed Chair, Ben Bernanke, said just today that the recovery of this economy has been shaky. It's been uneven, and of course we know that we recently saw terrible jobs numbers come out. The president says he's not concerned about a double-dip recession. Are you?
Well, it's pretty apparent that the president's not concerned because he's not doing all the right things that need to be done to bring this economy back. We're at almost $14.5 trillion in debt, headed towards $20 trillion, where the interest will be $1 trillion alone. And we don't see any real effort to do anything about the entitlement programs. In fact, the president said he's not going to do anything about them in this context. And without presidential leadership, we can't solve these problems. We can solve some of them, but we can't solve all of them.
What could the president do to revive the economy more quickly? What could Congress do? Because there are some people who say there's really not much that the administration or Congress could do in the short term right now to bring the economy back to life at a faster clip.
Well, he can quit spending like he is. We all know that it's spending. It isn't that we don't have enough revenues. We usually get enough revenues. And the revenues generally around 18.5% of GDP. Whether you increase taxes or decrease taxes. The fact is they find ways around increasing taxes, and some of them leave the country. Like in the 80s, we had 37 of the top 50 corporations, multinational corporations in the world. Today, 16. They just left when they got the high taxes. And the Democrats never seem to figure it out. That, you know, if you tax people too much, they leave. If you tax people too much, they quit working. If you tax people too much, it costs money rather than saves money. And the key is not just that we shouldn't tax them too much, we got to quit spending.
But the president has said he's committed to cutting spending. In fact, the vice president is in those meetings right now with members of Congress, and he says they're going to cut more than $1 trillion.
Oh, let me tell you, he's going to spend $20 trillion. On spending by 2020. I mean, let's face it, we're going to be graced if that happens. We'll be spending 90% to 100% of our GDP if his own budget is the budget we go by. Look, he has a tough job. On the other hand, his philosophy is completely bankrupt. They really believe that we can spend our way out of a recession, and you can see we've spent $1 trillion, actually more than that, and we haven't, and we're still on the really the doldrums right now, and it isn't going to get any better.
So you've been here a long time. You are the most senior senator in the Senate. You've seen a lot of attempts to reform entitlements before. What do you think should be done? Because it's often easier said than done. Do you think that the Ryan plan is the solution, or would you like to go in a different direction?
Well, I give Congressman Ryan a lot of credit because he's at least come up with something.
But do you like his plan?
Yeah, I do. I think he's come up with something that would save Medicare, where the president's approach is going to destroy Medicare because they're not doing anything to solve these problems. They are spending America right into a second-rate nation. And add all that, the fact that they're not doing anything on energy. They won't grant the permits. They won't allow drilling offshore. They won't really help with regular oil sands work that really has somewhere between 800 billion and 1.6 trillion recoverable barrels of oil. Shell said that they spent $3.5 to $4.5 billion up in Alaska, and they can't get the permits to do it, even though they know where the oil is. Anwar is a wasteland, and they act like it's the most beautiful, pristine wilderness in the world, and we know there are billions of barrels of oil there. There are billions of barrels of oil on the West Coast, on the East Coast, and there are a lot of barrels of oil in this country that can be recovered. They're not doing what's right, and nor are they even trying to, to make do with what we have even at this time. What did the president do? He goes down to Brazil and gives them $2 billion of our hard-earned dollars when we're bankrupt and says, we're going to buy your oil, we're going to be your good customer.
So CBS News is going to be doing a town hall meeting next week, Monday, with some of your colleagues, including some of the members who have been involved in these negotiations that are being led by Vice President Biden. How do you think that those negotiations are going? And do you think it's important that they come to an agreement sooner rather than later so that the markets don't get jittery about a possible default?
Well, it doesn't count to say $1 trillion, because you can find that pretty darn easily. When you start talking $2 or $3 trillion, that's where the going gets tough. And the Democrats' answer to that is, well, we've got to increase taxes. Yeah, I guarantee you, if you increase taxes and the Democrats are in control, they'll spend every stinking dime of it. That's been our history around here, and there's no way that's going to change with them. They keep themselves in power by spending your money and then claiming that they're doing good for you. The fact is, you know, I'm not sure there's going to be much come out of that, just like it didn't come out of the Gang of Six here.
Well, what's going to happen if nothing does come out of there? I mean, do we default on our debt?
No, I think we've got to elect more fiscal conservatives in both parties.
But this is going to come up before then.
Yeah, I think, well, it's coming up right now, but I don't see any real effort to do it. Now, their answer is, well, you Republicans have got to increase taxes. Let me tell you something. If we took every dime that every millionaire in this country made and we took them as taxes this year, every dime, it'd be a little over $900 billion. Our deficit this year is $1.6 trillion. People don't seem to realize that. And we're not going to take every one of their dimes, but of course the Democrats want to get more of it so they can spend.
But in the immediate term, Moody's is warning that if it doesn't see significant advancement over the next few weeks between Republicans and Democrats when it comes to raising the debt limit, that it's going to start reviewing our credit rating and could downgrade us from a AAA.
Well,
don't you think that would be damaging?
Good for Moody's. That's something they didn't do during the last disaster, economic disaster.
Don't you think that could have worldwide repercussions then?
Well, let me just say this. S&P has given us a negative rating. They kept the AAA bond rating going. But that's going to go too if we don't get real on spending. And it's spending. There's nobody can deny that, in my opinion, except the Democrats in Washington. Now, Moody's, yeah, I think they're right. I think that
Democrats say you guys are the ones that increased the debt, and it wasn't them, that it was your prescription drug benefit that wasn't paid for, that it was two wars in Iraq.
That was a bipartisan bill.
The Bush tax cuts.
Oh, come on. No, the Bush tax cuts were proven to be effective in their own way. Now, the fact of the matter is that you raise those taxes and see what you're going to get. You let them go up like the Democrats want to go up, and it will more quickly become a second-rate nation.
Well, they say they'll just be going up to where they were during the Clinton years.
Yeah, and they were too high. And the fact of the matter is, Clinton takes credit for the first balanced budget in over 40 years. It was the first Republican Congress. When are people going to realize what happened? But we cannot ever get things under control until we get the runaway entitlement programs under control and save them. And this president's approach is to not do anything on them, and he said he won't do anything this year. And at least Ryan's approach would save Medicare as we know it for those 55 and over, and then restructure it so that it'll be there. Social Security and Medicare will be there for those who are under age 55 at this time. And that includes your kids and mine, and in my case, grandkids and great-grandkids.